Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and today we're going to be talking about gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD for short. So if you've ever had that indigestion or burning through this area, or maybe you've eaten too much and lied down after a meal and just felt awful, this is for you. We're going to go a top-down approach here because it is one of the most common complaints that comes into my office when it comes to the digestive system is horrific heartburn, indigestion, and GERD. And all the person's been given is an acid-suppressing drug or a PPI or an H2 blocker. The problem with these medications is if you look at the side of the box, you're only supposed to take them for 2 to maximum 6 weeks, and people will sometimes get caught on them for years. It suppresses your stomach acid, which is so critically important for your digestion. You're not going to absorb your nutrients as well, so there's a lot of documented B12 deficiencies, calcium deficiencies because of long-term use of these medications. So just to stuff a symptom, people are given these meds, but then there's no exit strategy. See, a lot of people are given these drugs because they feel a burning. So right away we assume, oh, the stomach acid is too high. But what if I told you that a lot of these cases is actually from low stomach acid? Now you might think that sounds a little weird. Why would I have burning if my stomach acid goes low? So there is a valve between your esophagus and your stomach. It's known as the lower esophageal sphincter. It opens and closes when you eat and swallow. Now, it only stays closed and shut tight when the acid levels are at a certain height. If those acid levels drop, the feedback to that valve shuts off and then the valve slackens. So then you'll still get splashback in the esophagus. Even though the acid levels are lower, it's still going to be a very irritating process. So one of the first things we need to do is tonify and tighten this sphincter. Make sure that you get the stomach acid levels up and the pH down. That stomach acid should be between 1 and 3 on the pH scale, which is pretty darn low. That's an acidic environment. So some things that we can start with right away. One, if someone's on acid suppressing drugs, I give D-Glycerinated Licorice capsules right away to make sure that we deal with some of the symptoms, because the number one thing people reach for is Tums and Rolaids. Now the trouble with those is calcium carbonate and it can affect the pH of the stomach, and we're trying to preserve that at all costs. So I like DGL or D-Glycerinated Licorice capsules because they help soothe, cool, and coat this entire system without affecting the pH as much, and they taste friggin' awesome. One thing you can also look into to tonify and tighten up that sphincter so it locks down between meals is a compound called D-Limonene. So it's actually an extract from citrus peels, and at 1,000 milligrams a day it can be very good to help keep that LES nice and tight. Now, one of the most common things that people drink that loosens the LES is coffee, unfortunately. So I know it sucks and some of you will hate me, but if you're dealing with really bad heartburn or indigestion, stopping the caffeine for a while can really make a difference, because then that sphincter has a chance to close and stay tight, so splashback is not happening. So caffeine's a really, really big one there. Alcohol, also a brutal one for heartburn. Loosens the sphincter and just lights the whole area on fire. So minimizing caffeine and alcohol is very important. And getting hydrated. So we've talked a bit about stomach acid. So what does hydrochloric acid come from? So you have hydrogen and you have chloride come together, make hydrochloric acid. The hydrogen comes from water, H2O. So you need to drink a lot of water to give your body the precursor of hydrogen to make hydrochloric acid. Where does the chloride come from? It comes from salt. If you want to build hydrochloric acid, it's salt, it's water, and it's zinc. Those are critically important in order to give your body the building blocks to build stomach acid, because then when you get the stomach acid to the right level, you get the feedback to shut the sphincter. Another very important one, make sure that you chew really well. If you don't chew well and you put large molecules into the stomach, it's going to be irritating. It can cause indigestion, so chew really well so that the saliva meshes with your food and then has a chance to mesh with the hydrochloric acid. Periods of high stress, rushed eating, almost always leads to low stomach acid output, and then you're going to have some digestive problems. So that's a big one to consider. Some other foods that are just very irritating for most people when it comes to heartburn and indigestion. So chocolate, spicy foods, peppers, tomatoes can sometimes do this, and any food sensitivity, period. So I always recommend testing and eliminating food sensitivities, trying to figure out and determine what is lighting the esophagus on fire. Another big one is industrial seed oils and fried oils. So what that means is industrial seed oils are mostly liquid at room temperature. A lot of them are man-made synthetic, and they're just oils in amounts that we would normally never eat in nature. So this is like canola oil, soy oil, corn oil, sunflower, safflower. You could also have H. pylori, so it's always good to rule that out. That's a type of bacteria that can exist in the stomach, and it can cause a high hyper amount of acid to come out that can lead to heartburn. So always the thing to just kind of consider and rule out. Small intestinal bacterial overgrowth will also cause GERD and problems with the sphincter. So if you have too much gas buildup and bacterial buildup in the small intestine, that will cause the gas to move up the intestines into the stomach, and then it will basically blow that valve open because of the pressure that's mounting in the stomach. So the stomach position can also be a problem. So normally it should be below the diaphragm, and if it's up above the diaphragm at all, that's going to cause dysfunctions with that valve, and you're going to get spillback and acid through here. So sometimes we'll do visceral work to actually bring the stomach down. You can get people to drink large glasses of water and do heel drops, where you basically rise up on your toes and then come down quickly onto your heels, and then that will help pull the water and fluid as well as the stomach down with it. So these are some little tips and tricks I've learned over the years. Using apple cider vinegar diluted 1 to 2 teaspoons prior to meals can be good, as well as lemon water first thing in the morning, just to get the digestive juices going. So those are some of my favorites and things that you need to consider for this type of therapy. And I can't reiterate enough, the medication is not a long-term fix. If you have an ulcer, or say you're going through a really bad bout of stress and you have, an active issue going on in your system, sometimes those acid suppressors can be life changers and get you out of that jam. But then you got to go to work and repatch that gut lining, right? So if you're struggling with this, if you have questions, if you have any comments, just drop them below. Reach out. I'd be happy to chat more about this. This is a condition I love to treat. I can absolutely help you with this. And other than that, thanks for watching.